Hey guys, Icy Cat here. We finally got a look at the complete Year 4 roadmap, everything that we're going to be getting over the next year of content, as well as an in-depth look at everything for the operators for the new season of Rainbow Six, including the new map. We've got big changes coming to the fundamentals of the game, including restructuring of ranked, casual, map reworks, operator reworks, a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm going to condense it all into one video so you get all of your information in one place if you haven't had a chance to watch the live stream. So stick around as we go over all of the new information for everything in the upcoming year that we know about next. Okay, the first thing we're going to begin with is this look at the long-awaited Year 4 roadmap. Across the 4 seasons, only the first one has a 2-operator CTU for Australia. Season 2 is going to have 1 operator from the US, and that will be from the Secret Service, and 1 operator from Denmark. Season 3 will have an operator from Mexico and an operator from Peru. And then Season 4 will be 1 operator from Kenya and 1 from India. We also see that for the entire year ahead, we are only getting 1 brand new map, which is the Australian Outback map. For every season thereafter, we are getting a rework of an existing map. So in Season 2, we are getting a map rework for Cafe, and you can see some of the things that they've got going on here. They give us a little showcase of what some of the changes are. They were careful to say these are not all of the changes, but here we can see that the entire second floor is getting a little bit of a rework. We're getting balconies that extend all the way out to that outer wall on both ends of the building. There's also a little bit of extra protection here when dealing with people camping on top of that skylight. Then we're going to head on over to the main lobby area downstairs, and this is something that is also getting a fundamental change. This, they said, was an underused area of the map, and so to accommodate this, they've now made these changes. So you can see they've flipped the staircase from one side to the other side here and completely changed the way that that looks. You can also see a new dividing wall here and some other new additional elements and just some things that have been sort of changed around. They were very careful to say that these are not all of the changes that are coming to the map. The map is changing in many other ways, so there's going to be some extra windows added or some things like that. They didn't show an example of it, but apparently the bomb site for bakery is being removed, and they're moving that second bomb site into the kitchen along with the other one somewhere. So that may wind up going into a redesigned freezer section or some other kind of an area, but they want to put them both into that central kitchen area and get that second bomb site out of the bakery. Again, these are not the only things that are changing. This is just all that they showed us at this time. Now in Season 3, we'll be getting a map rework for Canal, and they actually showed some impressive changes here. These aren't just simply redesigns, this is like a complete rework on the order of Hereford base. Things are going to look fundamentally different while still maintaining that same kind of character where the map has 2 separate buildings connected by a skywalk. Apparently now there is also an underground tunnel that will also connect them, so there's not just one bottleneck way to cross from one side to the other. The sight lines and shapes of hallways and things, I mean, things are really changing in very fundamental ways on this map. It's almost going to be a new experience from the ground up like Hereford Base was. Then in Season 4, we'll be getting a map rework for Theme Park. Now, they didn't have any actual in-game renders of the map to show off, but they did show us the blueprints and sort of explained what it was they were trying to do. So on the first floor of Theme Park, they kind of like the way that the whole drug lab section works, and they're going to keep that more or less the same. But they kind of want to address that whole maze-like approach that's set up over by gargoyles and haunted dining. They just don't like the way that that kind of flows, and that section of the map is going to be getting changed. Additionally, moving up to the second floor, they said that they really wanted to address the way that that middle monorail tunnel section is kind of set up. They said that they feel like there's just too many places to hide in there, and it makes it really hard for attackers to try to flush defenders out of that section properly. They also said that there's something that they want to address over at the twin staircase section, although they didn't go into any specifics as to what that would be. They said the philosophy that they had was that now that they've got 20 plus maps in the game, they really want to do maintenance on the existing maps and put a lot of attention on making those maps flow better so that you don't get into situations where there's some maps that are fun and balanced and some maps that aren't, and then just keep adding new ones on top of that. So going forward in consecutive years, this may be the new normal where we get one map for the year and then complete reworks for the other 3 seasons. You'll also notice something here labeled Mid-Season Event. Now, this is something where they talked about in the last year, where they tried something new, like whether it was the Outbreak event or the Madhouse playlist event for Halloween or the Road to 6 Invitational playlist event. These were different things that allowed them to try out and experiment with different kinds of ideas. And they want to do that going forward, so they're going to have a new one of these special events every season. There's no word on what those events are going to be or how long they might last, but just that they're going to try to do somewhere in the middle of a season some kind of a fun or interesting event, maybe something that will allow them to do something kind of experimental. They actually said it's a little bit of R&D for them that allows them to sort of research what it is that works and doesn't work about an event that may then wind up translating over to the actual game. Now, in the next section below that, you'll see ongoing over the course of the seasons are operator balancing, player behavior, and playlists. So during the first half of year 4, we're going to be seeing a rework for Lion, and the way this is going to work is that there is not going to be an outline for the operators on scans anymore, so that red outline will no longer be present, and instead we'll get something that just kind of looks like a series of like jackal pings or alibi pings that'll just be on top of everybody all at once. The duration, however, has been decreased by 50%, so it's going to be a very short time that you will get that information. Another operator seeing a rework to how they function is going to be Glaz, also during the first half of year 4 sometime. And his thermal vision is only going to be available when he's standing still. If he starts moving a little bit, it's going to fade out, and then once he stops moving, it will fade back in. They wanted to make it so that he couldn't enter into rooms throwing off smoke grenades and really kind of be that heavy breaching attacker. What they wanted him to be was somebody that would be a sniper that would hold a certain angle, not somebody that could come in and just sort of overwhelm the site with that special utility. We're also seeing a variety of changes for operators coming up in the year ahead, starting with this first new season. Now, I did actually do a separate video on these a few days ago, and if you wanted the full detail of all of that information step by step, you can check that out. I'll put up a card for that. But basically, there's going to be a change for Mute, where he's going to get a bit of a buff. Now, when any defender is in range of his jammer, he will get an icon in the lower corner letting you know that you are in that protected range, which can be handy for helping to counter some abilities that are used against you. One of them also being a change that comes to Dokkaebi. So now if her phone is ringing and you step into range of that mute jammer, the ringing phone will shut itself off. Same if you were already standing in that area of effect. Another change to Dokkaebi is that after 18 seconds, her ringing will shut off. So even if you've done nothing to manually turn it off, after 18 seconds, it's going to pretty much go to voicemail and that ability will be turned off. Capito is also getting some changes that will allow him to more effectively cover a larger area with his asphyxiation firebolts. It has a larger area of effect, but it is going to do a slightly reduced amount of damage. They made this change to make him more of an area denial role as opposed to using those as more of a frag utility. They also changed the propagation of the effect itself, so it will no longer go through walls or go through mirror windows. It won't do that anymore. And also they've changed it so that it has multi-level propagation to a certain extent. So if you hit in one area with it that's on a higher elevation, it will affect there, but the rest of the area of effect, rather than sort of floating in mid-air like it used to do, will then kind of spill down to the area below until it reaches the next floor section. Of course, Ash is also seeing her ACOG removed from her R4C, and if you want to go over more of those specific changes, those were announced a few days ago, so I do have a video already out on that, so that's just some of the highlights of it though. We're also seeing some changes to some secondary gadgets, so breaching charges are now going to be faster to deploy, but will do less damage. They will do a lot less damage on the attacking side, so ending the round by placing a breaching charge in front of yourself and setting it off isn't really something that's going to be super effective anymore, unless you're already kind of hurt. And on the defensive side, it's not going to do as much damage as it used to before. It will also apparently create a larger hole, so it does more environmental damage, but less player damage. The biggest secondary gadget change, though, comes with a new deployable shield. So one thing they wanted to address is that it was hard to place down, and you would wind up with these gaps around the edges of it, and this is something that you could use to your advantage by creating pixel peak sightlines, but it was something you could also have used against you when you thought you were protected and you still had that gap of coverage there. Now the placement is going to be easier, and it will now more properly fill a single doorway from edge to edge. It also has these see-through slits, kind of like windows from Mira's Black Mirrors, where they're one way, so you can see through them on one side, but you can't see through them on the other side. If you're looking at them, it just looks like a deployable shield face. But on the back side, this gives you a little bit of an idea as to what is going on the other side, so you know when a good time to pop up and take a shot is, or when to throw a nitrocell, or kind of like where the player is. Before, you were blind when you were behind that thing. Now you can have a little bit more of an idea as to what's going on. So this is definitely a buff to the deployable shield. Another big change that they wanted to address was the recent plague of the crouch lean spamming technique. So here they're kind of showing what's going on and how that looks. It makes the player hitbox very hard to hit because you're chasing that head all over the place. So what they've done now is they've slowed down that animation, and they've also made it so that the hitbox doesn't flicker around as much and it's more centrally located. This is something I can't wait to get my hands on and test and see how it winds up changing things as far as to what the third-person perspective looks like versus what the first-person perspective is showing you, and the range of visuals that you have from one perspective change to the next. Then we get into the player behavior improvements. So they are now going to implement a reversed damage for friendly fire. So the way this works is that once you get one team kill, you will get this notification at the top of your screen that will let you know that now reverse friendly fire has been activated. And after that point, if you wind up taking shots on friendly members of your team, you will receive that damage instead. By default, everything is the way it's always been. But once you get a team kill, then this mode of reflective fire will turn on and you will be punished with the damage that you try to give other people. It was also stated that a forgive system is something that is in the works for down the road. And they also hinted that there would be rewards for positive behaviors, so maybe some kind of a reputation system or something. Again, those were two pieces of information that they didn't really go into expanded details on, but this is the first step of the implementation towards addressing the toxic team kill situation. They also teased that there were other aspects to player behavior that they were going to be addressing. They mentioned toxicity and leaving. So somehow when you leave a game, they're going to try to do something to address that so that that's not as prevalent of an issue as it is currently. But again, they did not expand on that at all. Then we go over to the playlist changes. So we're getting a new permanent playlist added to the game. This is the newcomer playlist, and you can only play in it from levels 1 to 50. It will have a bomb-only game mode and a limited map pool with 3 maps from the ranked playlist. The round duration will be 3 minutes and 30 seconds per round. Attackers can choose their spawn as a group, and defenders will be informed of the spawn that they can get. So it's not that the defenders can choose where they go, but we will finally be told as defenders at least where we will be, so that during operator selection, we can make some fitting choices as to what we'll be doing based on where we're going. Now, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to deal with the problem of Smurfs in this playlist. Smurfs, by their nature, are people that are experienced players that create new accounts, usually for the express purpose of stomping new players or low-skilled players. And this seems like it would be a really tempting setup for them to go ahead and infect that playlist and just stomp all over people. They're already creating these brand new accounts and starting at low levels, so I don't know what Ubisoft is going to do to counter that problem. But that's not the only playlist change that we're going to be seeing. Casual and ranked are also getting some reworks. So casual is now something that is going to be having the same format that the newcomer playlist will have. The rounds in casual will now be 3 minutes and 30 seconds. The attackers will spawn as a group based on where they vote to start. And spawning on defense is something where you will be informed about in advance. Again, so you're able to make that operator selection without it being a blind choice, not knowing what site you're going to be on. I don't know why they didn't take it one step further and allow you to actually pick your spawn position like you could during the Road to 6 Invitational, which was a casual playlist and allowed defenders to pick their spawns. But at least we are getting some of those changes in there that have been long overdue for casual. Ranked is also going through some changes here. They are finally removing the beta tag from Ranked. Ranked will no longer be in beta. The pick and ban mode is now coming to Ranked in its full implementation, so that will be a normal part of Ranked gameplay now. Furthermore, they're introducing the Ranked Hub. So this is something that will have a few different tabs on it that you can choose to see your information at a glance. It shows you what the rewards are in the given season. And then you can go on these other tabs and check out your stats and info, both on your current season or previous seasons, and see how that stacks up. There's also the skills tab, which allows you to see where everybody else is kind of sitting on that spectrum of, who's in what rank and kind of by percentages and things. And then after that, there's also a map tab, which will show you whatever the current maps are in rotation for that season that are in the ranked playlist. There will also be a level 30 requirement to play in ranked. Now, the test server itself is also seeing a slight change in that it's going from a 2-week testing period to a 3-week testing period. So right now, that test server session begins tomorrow, February 18th, and it sounds like we'll have a 3-week testing period then before we actually get that full season launch live for everybody else. They said the reason they wanted to do this was that it would allow them to have more time to address the things that they were seeing in the test server and implement them into the full game before it went live. They're also making changes to the operator lifecycle. So up until this point, every time you had a DLC operator, it was 25,000 renown or 600 rainbow credits. And they did have a reduction for year 1 operators a little while ago, but now they are making this permanent change to the way operator lifecycle handles for purchasing DLC content. All operators 0 to 12 months are 25,000 renown, and you can see here on this chart it also kind of lists the other changes too, but we'll just talk about the renown changes. And then from 12 to 24 months they drop down to 20,000 renown, 24 to 36 months they drop down to 15,000 renown, and then 36 months or more are 10,000 renown each, and you can see that the credits and the dollar amounts wind up changing appropriately for those as well. Another thing they mentioned is that this year will finally take us over the 50 operator threshold. They want to eventually build to 100 operators. But in the meantime, going up to 50 winds up making it so that it's really a lot of things to see on screen at once, and it makes it kind of hard to figure out what's going on. So they've come up with this new, they're calling it like a operator profile album, where you can essentially select your attacker or your defender side, and then once you choose that side, it then goes into a fuller screen of all the options that you have there, and it looks like it kind of stacks your operators based on how often you access them or play them. Okay, so now we're going to go over to everything that we have coming up for this first season right away. So we've got the new map. We'll take a real quick look at this before we move on to the operators. So this is Outback. This is a medium L-shaped map, so hopefully it's not going to be as big as some of the recent additions we've seen from Fortress and Villa and some of those other ones that wind up having like a kind of a maze-like layout. We're told that this is more of a medium-sized map. It has 3 distinct sections, and they're color-coded so you can easily find your place within the map no matter where you are. So if you're in the section with the blue walls, you're in the garage. If you're in the section with the green walls, you're kind of in the kitchen restaurant area. And if you're in the section with the yellow walls, you're in the motel side of the map. So it should be able to find your way quite easily. There's 3 different spawns for attackers. You've got the camping section, the storage yard, and the fuel pump area. Now for the defenders, they only showed the bomb sites, but they gave you a good idea of kind of everything that you would see all around the map. So even though we'll have some overlap and some differences between secure area and hostage, you can still kind of get a feel for the way everything is sort of set up. They said they wanted to focus on something that wasn't quite as big as in previous maps, but this is still, even though it's smaller, going to have a lot of rotation options. There are 4 different staircases, not including hatches, and split-level balconies to allow you to jump down. So you're going to have lots of possible rotation options, and even though it's a medium-sized map, it's still going to give you a lot of flow and hopefully not have as much of that serpentine maze-like layout that some of the bigger maps have had. Now let's talk about our new operators. So first up is the new defender Mozzie, and he is a 2-speed, 2 armor. And his thing is that he can hack drones. And this is really cool. He can either fire it directly at a drone, or he can pre-place it, and it's like a little robot that will actually detach and jump onto the drone and hack it. When he does it, this gives him full control of that drone. He can drive it around, he can jump with it. If it's a Twitch drone, he can even shoot with it. He can scan with it. It becomes locked out of the attacker network of drones. The attackers can no longer see this drone anymore, and it winds up being something that all of the defenders can see. So they can position that drone into areas that are a little bit more advantageous to them. Now you can tell that a drone has been hacked because the lights will change from red to blue. Also, if you're on the defensive side, the drone will have this white outline on it, kind of denoting that it's a friendly gadget now instead of the normal attacker drone. It's still going to be a bit hard to probably break that habit of automatically shooting the drones and automatically ignoring the drones if you're on the other side, but it's something that each team will have to become aware of. Now, when you get close to this device, if it's been pre-placed, you do get a little bit of a warning on your HUD, so you know that you are close enough to it and you should be careful of it. It's not going to tell you exactly where it is, but that you need to be careful. It's somewhere nearby. Now, there are counters to this. If Dokkaebi manages to hack the defensive camera network, she will be able to see through that drone because that drone is now part of that defender network. The drone is still part of the defender's lineup though. She can't get it back. She can't get control of it restored, but she's at least able to see through it again if she hacks the cameras. Additionally, Thatcher is able to disable Mozzie's device, and IQ can also find it by scanning, and the hacked drones will also show up with a special highlight so that she knows that that is a rogue drone. Let's get a look at his lineup. So he uses either the Commando 9 SMG or the P10 Roni SMG. For secondaries, it's either an SDP 9mm handgun or a super shorty handgun, kind of like the one that Mira has. Secondary gadgets are a choice between either a nitro cell or barbed wire. Now moving over to the attacker's side, we have Gridlock, and Gridlock is actually the first 3 armor, 1 speed attacker that we've seen added to the game since launch. Her device is sort of an anti-roaming gadget in a way, and she's got 3 of these canisters that throw out a ton of these spiked webs. These are like spike stop strips that the police use to disable cars on a high-speed pursuit chase. And the concept behind this is that you can actually flood a room with these things and slow the defenders down, kind of like an attacker version of barbed wire. But they do work a little bit differently. They make noise just like barbed wire makes when you go through them, but they also cause some damage too. Like barbed wire, they similarly will wind up slowing down your movement speed if you choose to muddle through them. They're pretty easy to take out though. Shooting them will take them out, throwing some explosives at them will take them out. Even melee hits will disable these things. So the devices are actually pretty weak, it's just that there's quite a few of them. Now if a defender is quick, they can even shoot the canister before it finishes deploying to stop them spreading out, so you're able to sort of interrupt that spreading animation that it has if you can shoot it quickly enough. Taking a look at her loadout, she has a choice of the F90AR, which is kind of like an AUG platform, or the M249 SAW LMG. Like Mozzie, she also has a super shorty shotgun or the SDP 9mm handgun, and her secondary gadgets consist of either smoke grenades or breaching charges. Also coming with the new season will be the next elite, and this is the one for Hibana as shown here. And this is going for a very traditional Asian warrior outfit here, and we've even got a shot of her using a longbow, which is interesting because that's not her gadget reskin. In fact, her gadget reskin is shown very briefly, so we're not really sure what that is. I think it's just some artwork to kind of complete the ensemble and make it look kind of cool. Maybe that'll wind up being a charm or something. But this is a full head reveal here, not like the hood that she normally wears, and it's just an interesting aesthetic overall. And as Hibana is a very popular player, I think we're going to probably be seeing a lot of this. Now tomorrow, February 18th, the full test server goes live, and we will also be getting the complete list of patch notes at that time. So I will definitely be covering that tomorrow, and over the next coming weeks, we'll be checking things out on the test server too. So if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. Make sure you click that notification icon so you're alerted as soon as I make that new info available. You can also follow me over at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.